Every boxer remembers their first experience walking into a gym for the first time. From what it looked like, how they felt, the people they saw. And even for me, I remember the smell. It was an experience that I'll never forget. And it wasn't at all what I thought it would be when I first had the idea of going to a boxing gym. I've always liked fighting, but I didn't know it was going to be boxing. I always grew up watching Jackie Chan, liking the idea of just martial arts in general. I think what really set it for me, set my eyes on boxing, was watching Rocky movies when I was about 13, 14. And I just loved fighting all the time, and I got in a couple fights at school. I fought with my brother a lot, and I always had a lot of energy to give. And when you have a lot of energy as a kid, well, then you have a lot of energy to be angry, and I was a pretty angry kid. So when the day came that I was, with permission, able to go sign up for a boxing gym from my mom, we walked into the gym. I signed the papers. I remember being not intimidated, but very in the unknown. I just had no idea what to expect and how to stand, how to talk. I was very uncomfortable. I was about 14 when my mom finally signed me up. I remember the first day I went into the change room to get dressed before going in for my first training. The smell is one that I'll never forget. It smelled like, it didn't smell bad or like sweat or anything, which you probably think it would, but for some reason it smelled like Tiger Balm, and it was a really strong smell. And every time I smell Tiger Balm, I think of my first time in a boxing gym. So went into the gym, did my training. I just remember being so surprised on how much energy it takes to even just keep your hands up and keep your chin down. How much focus it takes to remember all these things. Try to not be out of breath while doing it. Doing your best to give it your all when you have to. That was one thing. I remember being just being surprised on how much technique it required to throw a single punch. And so I did my first training, and it was just a group circuit with a lot of people, and we did a lot of jumping jacks, a couple push-ups, a couple sit-ups, hit the bag. Oh, I remember the coach who was doing the course asked everyone who's advanced, and everyone who was advanced lifted up their hand, and then he asked who's a beginner, and then me and like 3 other dudes lifted up our hands, and he's like, okay, well, you guys who are more experienced go on those bags, and you 3 or you 4 go over there on those bags. And for some reason that just pissed me off. I was like, man, like, obviously I am a beginner, but I just remember being pissed that I was put with those guys, because those guys, they just looked like shrimps. I probably looked like a shrimp then too, but I didn't think I looked like a shrimp. So we hit the bag, and I just remember he was like, I think he asked us to do something and then to tell him when we're done. So I did the thing super quick, super hard, as fast as I could, went over to him and I was like, yeah, I'm done. And he's like, really? Are you sure? And I was just like, yep. He's like, okay, well, now do this. And I went over, did it, came back. I was the first one done again out of the other 3 guys that I did it with. Came back and he was like, really? You're done again? All right. And I think it was that guy who then asked me if I wanted to fight, and I said yes. And he brought me over to the coach who's in charge of the fighting team in that gym, and he asked him if there's any spots left on the team, and he said, yeah, maybe. And he said, well, this guy wants to fight. And the coach looked at me. He was this Filipino guy that looked really rough around the edges, but you could tell that he was about his business. And he looked at me and he goes, "Why are you looking at me like you want to fight me?" And I just remember like kind of smiling, and he was just like, "Oh, I'm just kidding." And he's like, "Okay, well, show up here, and if we see that you're serious, then we may have you might be able to be on the team," or something like that. Yeah, and I just remember him telling me that, and I was super excited but super nervous, because I knew that, okay, now every time I go to this gym, I can't be messing around, and I can't screw this up. So consistently, and I don't really remember my first time training. All I remember was the circuit, and I don't remember my few times after that. I remember my first sparring, the first time I sparred. It was with some guy that he didn't look tough at all or anything, but he whooped my ass. He was this super young Asian guy who was a mechanical engineer, or studying to be a mechanical engineer, and I just remember him throwing punches super fast, and every time I tried to throw a punch, it almost felt like he knew I was going to throw it, and he would counter me, and I'd get hit. And I just remember getting hit for the first time, and I was like, "Ow!" like that, like it hurt. It hurt, but not physically. If it hurt, like fuck, like that, like that's not good. I just felt I felt embarrassed a bit that he hit me, that he landed a punch on me, and I couldn't land a punch on him. So that was my first time sparring, and I kept just going and trying and asking questions every time I sparred. Another time after that, and I just remember asking so many questions and trying to figure out how I can learn all the things that he's doing to me the best way possible and the fastest way possible. And I guess that consistency that I had made an impression on the coach who was in charge of the team. And he told me how he has a spot coming up on the team, and he's going to make me spar if I'd like. He's going to make me spar a guy who's already on the team but who hasn't been really serious recently at the time. And if I do good against him, then he's going to kick him off the team and he's going to put me on the team. So I was like, oh, yeah, like, hell yeah, let's do it. So he told me when we'd be doing that, and I showed up that day with my brother. I had a Monster Energy drink before because I was so out of shape that I felt like I needed an extra boost. So I chugged down a Monster Energy drink. We did the group circuit before the sparring, and I remember him looking over at me in the corner of his eye, looking at how hard I was going, and I could see that he wasn't going too hard. He was saving his energy for the sparring. So that kind of fired me up to just go as hard as I could in the circuit before the sparring. I just felt like being better than him even before we were about to spar. So I just threw punches on the bag, and as hard as I could, and did the jumping jacks and all the sit-ups as fast as I could. And then the training was done. We all gave each other a high five at the end in a circle. And when I high-fived him, I told him good luck to kind of scare him. And I think it worked at the time, but anyways. And then we sparred, and I remember just giving it everything I had. And he was putting his hands up, not really throwing back punches. And then I just hit him to the gut with an uppercut. And he went down, and I felt really nice about that. I just knew that I wanted to have that feeling again as much as I could. And yeah, and then the coach put his arm around my shoulder and was like, yo, like, was really happy for me and stuff. And he gave shit to the other guy. He was like, giving him shit, like, this fucking guy, Jeremy's been coming here for 3 months, and he only comes like twice a month, and you've been coming here for longer than him, and he just beat your ass. Like, you don't ever belong in a box. Just giving him shit to this little kid. And I remember I kind of felt bad, but I was like thinking to myself, yeah, like if I was in his shoes, I wouldn't have let myself get lazy like him. Like he had it coming. Anyways, and then the coach basically was like, yeah, okay, so we're gonna train you and get you ready for a fight. And I was super excited, and I felt nice. And then what do you know? I felt, I guess, that I didn't need to take it as serious anymore. I felt like I was a natural, which I'm not. So I stopped going, and like an idiot, got in some fights at school to show off my new skills, and never showed up to that boxing gym again. Just, it was almost like it was just no discipline and no commitment, and completely dismissing the great opportunity that I had in front of me, and wasted the money that my mom put in for me to train at this gym that I begged her for. Had a membership and wasn't even going anymore, and making up excuses to people around me why I wasn't going. So stopped going, and then got in more trouble at school, and then I had to leave the province, go move over to Montreal. I was in Ontario, so I had to move over to Montreal for how much trouble I was getting into. Go to school over here and just put that down the drain. And yeah, the story continues though. Boxing comes back in a way that I didn't expect, and you guys won't expect. So if you're really interested in hearing the rest of the story, well, let me know in the comments, and my brother and I will cook something up, and we'll make sure that it's something that I don't know what I'm saying.